Hi, my name is Charlie from It's Barbie Paris. Welcome back. We make a variety of videos on subjects including disability justice. Today I want to talk about something that I'm seeing more and more as the political discourse continues to grow and unfold in front of us. I'd like to talk about the difference between being critical of someone in power and being ableist, because I think that you can critique somebody's politics, or let's even talk about like famous people. You can criticize their fame and the things that they've done without dragging disability into it, without dragging things like their mobility aids into the conversation, or using that as a contention point to drive home something negative about the person or like a negative trait. I see this on both sides, and this is both in verbal rhetoric as well as things that I see online or sometimes even in news articles and discussion about famous people or celebrities or religious figures. As recently the Pope, I'll talk about that situation, and I'll talk about a few situations that I've seen recently. Ableism is a discriminatory practice against disabled people. This can be done in a variety of different ways. It can be more systemic, so that thing includes things like lack of access, or it can be more casual, like mocking somebody's voice when their voice is affected by their disability or their neurodivergence, for example. And disabled people are in the spotlight, and this includes politicians, religious figures, actors, etc. It's interesting to see how quickly the criticism turns from being less about politics and more of an ableist take. And I think if you've been online or even consuming some American news media, you probably get some of this. For example, I see a lot of discussion about Trump wearing things like diapers. And while I acknowledge the issues within the presidency, using sanitary products, I don't know if that's like, it just feels like low-hanging fruit. And it is explicitly because of a disability, even if that disability is related to age. Now, I do understand that term limits are quite important, and I don't think that we should be letting people just be elected once and then age until they pass away and open up that position. I think that that's a problem. I think that's a different criticism than just being like, this person is using a walker, so they are not a competent person. And it's like, let's talk about Mitch McConnell recently. He was using a walker, and while there's a lot that we can criticize Mitch McConnell about, I don't understand why the walker. Same thing with the Pope. Recently, he has been in a wheelchair, and there's questions about the Pope's ability to continue leadership in the Vatican and things like that from a wheelchair, or criticizing the disability itself. While maybe there's things that you could criticize the Catholic Church or the Pope about specifically, I don't know why we have to turn and talk about the wheelchair in addition to that, or lay on additional criticism, when again the criticism before was enough. The casual ableism wasn't necessary. Celebrities that are maybe more well liked will often see people critique a disabled celebrity, and while we're talking about maybe some negative traits that should be called out or some negative things that they've done, it suddenly turns into discussions on how they talk, how they walk, if their disability is legitimate or relevant or important at all. And it becomes open to criticism. In politics, if a disabled leader has issues or messes up or does something that the general populace is upset about, it immediately gets turned into discussions about their ability to lead and direct links to the disability. critiquing their appearance, such as the Donald Trump diaper debacle. Honestly, I could care less. I think there's a lot more important things that we could talk about. We had a president with a prominent stutter, and for years that's literally all you saw is criticism over something that he can't help, and his stutter doesn't take away from the things that he's saying. And so I think it's really, really wild to zero in and focus on that, while again there's plenty of reasons to criticize maybe Biden. His disability is not the move. And I think when people say these things and they're targeting them at somebody that they dislike so much, they're forgetting that other people read this. That disabled person in your life will read that and also see that, and also see your takes and feelings about the incompetency that you see and regarding the politicians, in regards to the walker. There's just different things that are brought in that are incredibly unnecessary. Disability obviously doesn't make somebody innately like an innocent person or innately wrong. I think we kind of see both ends of the spectrum. Like either they're very, very infantized, or we see in like movies and cartoons that like the disabled character is almost always the villain. You can be disabled and hold power. You can be disabled and say important things. You could be disabled and a powerful person. You could be disabled and be a politician. We've had so many before. But when we're criticizing people, I think we need to instead turn our discussions towards the harm, the policies, not the assistive devices or things that they need to get through their lives, not how they appear, not their voice, not their body. Keep it to important dialogue. And I think this goes to anyone. If you are criticizing anybody, and I understand when somebody causes harm, I think it's incredibly important to speak up. And I don't blame anyone for feeling any sort of emotions at this point politically. But when we let the ableist critiques kind of overshadow other critiques, that's all people are seeing. And what is important suddenly isn't the talking point, or isn't what we're speaking on, or what's debated or discussed. Again, what it turns into is a discussion about the disability, about their ability to exist and do X, Y, and Z. I'm disabled. I also want to see people held accountable when necessary, including disabled individuals. But I want to make it known that I'd like people to think before they speak, and think of who might be seeing your posts and hearing what you say before you say it. I'd like to exist in a world where disabled people are held at the same level as other people, and that we see disability as something that is innate, and it's something that is just by nature. There's going to be biodiversity, there's going to be people with disabilities, or it's an innate part of being human and what we are. What I'm asking is, the next time you want to criticize or critique somebody in any fashion, ask yourself if you're critiquing the right things, or if we're focusing on the wrong things, including things like the wheelchair. And maybe, right, if we're talking about like older people in political power, the criticism would more lie in the political system and less within the disabled community and the disabled assistive devices, if that makes sense. I hope this gave you something to think about. If you found it interesting or would like to hear more of what I like to talk about, please subscribe. We talk about things like this. I try to put out 2 videos every single week, and like I said, we cover a variety of subjects, including disability justice, and talking about things that I see in the world. And things that I'm seeing right now are just people being overly critical of disabilities while ignoring the actual major issues that I think that we're intending to criticize people on. So that's just kind of where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.